Ever wish you could kind of learn like a card shark? Well, not the reckless kind. Haha.
Yeah.
More like the ones who are always thinking 10 steps ahead. Today's deep dive is going to show us how, and the source might surprise you, it's a high-stakes poker coaching session.
Now, before you think, wait, I don't even play poker, trust me on this one. This is about way more than cards. It's about strategic thinking, the kind we can use to learn, well, anything,
You
really.
got that right. The video we're diving into, it's a coach reviewing a tournament hand with his student, right?
Huh.
And right away, the coach, he hammers home this point.
Yeah.
Tournament poker, it's a slow burn.
Exactly. He even compares it to a marathon, not a sprint. And that just clicked with me how much patience you need to master anything complex, learning a language, coding, even getting good at chess. It takes time, consistent effort, no overnight miracles, sadly.
And that's where the strategy comes in, right? This coach kept using this term, ICM. Sounds kind of intimidating, yeah.
It is a mouthful, the independent chip model, but it boils down to resource management.
Which, let's be real, is useful for way more than just poker. Right?
Oh, absolutely. ICM, it helps these players make decisions not just on what cards they're holding, but on how much their chips are worth compared to everyone else at the table. The whole picture, basically.
So it's not just about winning that one hand, it's about the long game, the strategy.
Exactly. There's this one hand, the student has pocket tens, not bad, right? And the coach tells him to finesse.
Fold pocket tens. That's crazy. Why would you do that?
Well, here's the thing. This student, he had a huge chip lead at that point. And according to ICM, risking a big chunk of those chips, even with a good hand, it just wasn't worth it. Better to save those resources for later in the tournament when they matter even more.
Wow, that totally changes how I'd see that hand. It's kind of like knowing when to, I don't know, conserve your energy instead of burning out, right?
Exactly. Think of it like learning a new skill. Sometimes you got to recognize when to take a step back from a tough concept or a practice session. Avoid that burnout. It's not quitting, it's strategic. Pacing yourself for the long haul.
Man, that's a good analogy. I never thought of it that way. So we've got patience, strategic resource management. There's more, right?
Oh.
Learning never stops.
Oh, definitely not. The coach, he goes on to this other thing, something even pros struggle with, folding.
Okay, but how's folding a skill? It seems like the opposite of action.
See, that's where it gets interesting. The coach is saying that knowing when to fold, even with decent cards, it's crucial in tournaments.
So it's about knowing when to walk away, cut your losses, live to play another hand.
Exactly. You recognize that sometimes the best move, the most strategic move, is to preserve your resources, your chips, for a better opportunity later on. And this concept, it's everywhere once you start to see it.
Give me an example then. How does folding work outside of poker?
Imagine a business venture. Yeah. You put in time, money, energy, but it's just not happening like you planned. Knowing when to cut your losses, to fold that hand, it can be the difference between, a manageable setback and total disaster.
So we know that even if we're not like professional gamblers, these poker strategies, they matter, right? But here's where things got a little, well, unexpected. They start talking about AI in the middle of this poker lesson.
That's a curveball for sure. From chips to artificial intelligence, what's the link?
Right. Totally caught me off guard. But the coach, he brings up these AI language learning tools, things like character.ai.
Yeah.
And it turns out he sees this connection back to strategic learning, the whole point we've been talking about.
Now that's interesting. What's his take on AI then? How does it fit in?
He's convinced AI could totally change how we learn, especially languages. He's talking about personalized lessons, almost like having your own tutor, adjusting to what you need.
And if we think back to that ICM thing, it's like AI is helping us manage our, what do you call it, learning resources, time, energy, focus, but in a smarter way.
Exactly. Like AI could tell us when to fold on a study method that's not working and try something else.
Having a poker coach for your brain, basically. It's analyzing your progress, telling you the best move to make.
Makes you wonder, what other weird connections are out there? But before I get too distracted, there's this other part of the coaching I got to bring up. We talked about patience, right? Well, the coach, and indeed the student, they share these personal stories.
Oh, yeah, that part was great. The student learning Chinese just because. Loved that.
Right. Who does that tackles a super hard language just for fun. Says something about motivation, doesn't it? It's not even practical. It's the challenge, the mental workout.
Totally. And then the coach, he talks about playing piano, keeps him sharp, finds that balance outside the poker pressure.
They're both showing that learning, whatever it is, poker, languages, music, It's rewarding in itself.
The process, right. The journey's part of it. Even the folds, the setbacks, it's all part of it.
Makes you think about those times you hit a wall, you know? Maybe instead of freaking out, we should think like poker players. Reassess, come back stronger.
Exactly. That poker mindset, analyze, make a good decision, keep your eye on the prize.
So we went from tournament rules to AI learning, and honestly, it doesn't feel so far apart anymore.
Not at all. It's wild how these totally different things can be about the same stuff deep down. Learning, growing, all that.
Which gets us to the big question. How do we use this stuff in our own lives?
Well, now that's where it gets really interesting.
So we've got all this, like, wisdom, right? From poker tables to AI and everything.
Yeah.
How do we actually use it? That's the thing.
$1 million question right there. And the cool part is there's no one answer. It's about taking those ideas, the patience, thinking strategically, knowing when to walk away, and figuring out how they fit into our learning, you know?
So instead of just, like, memorizing stuff, we should be learning like it's a poker tournament. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Think about it. A good poker player, they go in with the plan, right? Manage their chips carefully, watch the other players. They change things up depending on what's happening. So what if we did that with learning a language or a skill, even just a tough project at work? Same idea.
I like that. It's like, instead of freaking out because there's so much information out there, we can use those same strategy tools to decide what matters, what to focus on.
And just as important, knowing when something's not working, when it's time to fold and try a different way. We get so stuck on pushing through that we forget to ask if we're even on the right track at all.
So true. It's like doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, right? That's got to be the definition of crazy haha. Maybe sometimes the smart move, I ask to stop, look around, and adjust.
Exactly. And that's where patience comes in, like that poker tournament, remember. Getting good at anything takes time. It's about the whole journey, the ups and downs, and trusting that each decision, each step, is getting you closer.
Man, this deep dive has messed with my head in a good way.
Yeah.
Learning isn't just about, like, knowing facts. It's about having that adaptable mindset, that strategy.
And the best part, that mindset, it's not just for learning. It helps in all parts of life, you know? More purpose, more resilience, maybe even a little bit of that poker face. Haha.
So to wrap this whole thing up, the challenge for all of us is this. What if we were all strategic learners, like we're players in this big game of knowledge, you know?
Imagine if we took on every new thing, every chance to learn, with that same skill as a card shark.
Now that's a game I want to play. Until next time on the deep dive, stay sharp, everyone. And remember, sometimes the best move is knowing when to hold them and when to fold them.
Slept well, feeling fresh.
That's great. That's great. You look good.
Thank you, you as well. Always very sharp and nice looking.
Do you have something planned for today?
Well, I think you have planned some hands for us to review, if I'm guessing correctly.
Well, I went over my marked hand with the second coach you recommended. So, and this time the audio quality was great because he was on his computer, not his laptop. So he used a headset with a microphone, and then the quality was great, audio quality. So I went with him through a couple of hands that I marked, and now I don't have any hands marked for these lessons. But we can look at the tournament if you want.
Okay, because I would like to continue basically a bit work with the tools I introduced you last time, right? To show more of them. And I think your hands are a good sample for it.
Okay, let's do that. I guess we start straight away. We don't waste any time.
Well, unless there's something on your mind that you don't want to talk about AI or something new there.
No, nothing special. Nothing special. I have nothing special on my mind.
I've been playing around a little bit with AI chatbots recently.
Okay, that's great.
So there's, I like this one. There's this site, I don't know if you know, it's called Character AI.
Oh yeah, I heard about it. You can talk to a character like Einstein or Elon Musk. Isn't it that?
Right, something like that, yeah. But you can also talk to their like a psychologist or a scientist or yeah, I think one thing this can be very helpful in the future is language learning.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of education will be based on AI in the future. I think it will take over a big part of education, which is great because it will democratize, it will make it easier to access a high level of education. And that with a smartphone, a computer, etc. As soon as you have internet, you will be able to get really, really good education. But right now, I think they're still missing something. They're not as good as they should be. ChatGPT tried that also with the version 4.0, I think. Yeah. They had an ad running and they said it can now do math and help you with your math learning and guide you through the steps to solve a problem. But I'm sure it is not as good as it's supposed to be. Because since it can watch what you're doing on paper, it should be able to guide you through the exercise. But I don't think it works 100%, but it's close to it. It's close. It gets close. So in a couple of years, or maybe even 6 months, maybe there will be a moment where it will just work. It's like a ship in water. As long as the ship is too heavy and it keeps drowning, there's something wrong with it. But there comes a moment where it stays afloat. And I think it's the same with ChatGPT and learning. So at the moment, maybe in 6 months or maybe in 2 years, I don't know when, but there will be a moment, a breakthrough moment, where suddenly it is just good enough. And everybody will start using it for that. And language learning also, as you said. So you can talk with somebody, have a conversation, and learn new stuff about a new language. For example, if I would like to, I could learn Japanese or whatever language I want and have somebody who really helps me going through it. And it would only take maybe half an hour a day. I'm sure that if I have a good ChatGPT, a good AI that helps me, if I do half an hour Japanese every day, if I do that for a couple of years, I'm sure I can go to Japan and talk with people in Japanese. They might hear an accent. My pronunciation won't be great. It won't be 100%, but it will be good enough to understand what they say and to answer them. And I think that could be managed in if you do just a half an hour a day with an AI like that. So I think it's the future, but I don't think we had the breakthrough moment yet. I think the chip is still drowning. I think there's something missing.
Yeah. Well, it's still in its early stages, right? So
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I can imagine children might be extremely smart in the future if they all, I remember when I did homeworks in school, sometimes there was like a Russian homework and no one in my family knew like Russian grammar and things so well. So it was quite difficult with just a dictionary to try to find some words. And, I made a lot of mistakes in those homeworks. Suddenly, if you have a Russian speaking expert, linguist, analyst, just on your phone or on your computer, I think that could really change things for a lot. Maybe at some point it can even give feedback on pronunciation, right? If it listens you speak, or
Yeah, I'm
all
sure it
sorts
will.
of.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. You know, when I look back at my childhood, I'm a little older than you. But when I look back at my childhood, and there was no internet, the only thing we had was Game Boys. Um, it looked really boring and really stupid. Well, the good thing is you did more thing outside the house. So I had, for example, some horse riding lessons once during a vacation. Then and I did quite a lot of sports. So that was nice. I did something in nature with friends. That wasn't that bad. But when I look at the opportunities we had, I think it was really restricted. It was really there was a lot missing because we didn't have internet, we didn't have AI, we didn't have any of the modern tools. And as you say, when you talk about your ambition to learn Russian, and it was really hard. I think today, if you do it again today, it would be much easier. There are a couple of, if you're interested in learning a language, there are a couple of free tools available. Because I have a friend for whom I did find a teacher for English. She wanted to improve her English because she wants to be able to go in an English speaking language. She travels a lot, and when she is somewhere where the people speak English, she wants to be able to speak to them in English fluently. So she takes lessons, and she asked me to find a teacher. And I also found a couple of sites where you can improve your English, and I think it's all free, or most of it is free. Maybe they have also a paid version, but you can learn a lot. Are you interested in learning a language?
You know, I already have been.
So but right now you're not improving or want to study a language.
No, I am. I am actively also every day a little bit learning right now.
What are you learning?
So I'm doing different. Mostly I'm learning Chinese actually for the
Oh,
past half year.
for the Chinese, unbelievable. And how come? How come you want to learn Chinese?
Well, because it sounded like the toughest language to learn, and I thought if I can learn this, then I can learn anything.
So
So
you only
that,
do it as an exercise, only to learn something new. You have no goal to go to China, talk Chinese or anything like this, or have a Chinese girlfriend. You
no,
only.
I'm not even like super interested. Like, I mean, China obviously is interesting, long history and everything, but there is no special reason other than just like I want to understand the hieroglyphs and I want to be like able to say some things in Chinese, and if Chinese people speak something, understand them, or there's no special reason. It's just like how to say, like you know, as a child, why some child gets super interested in like Spider-Man, and then they want the Spider-Man clothing and Spider-Man shoes with the Spider-Man logo on it or something, and then they want a notebook with Spider-Man on it and a poster on the wall with Spider-Man and something. So I sometimes have like this childish curiosity also, like if I feel like what do I want to learn? I could learn Russian. It would be maybe more useful in my region and all this. Yes, but sometimes it's not just about utility, it's about what's fun for me to do. So I've been
But
learning a bit of.
I'm really impressed that you find time for it, because I
Oh, it's
think I
no,
think you're a really busy man. You already do a lot by playing poker, giving lessons. So I'm really impressed that you still find time for something that I would call a hobby or right now. But it's great. I think you do the right thing. I had there will be you will develop dementia if you don't train your brain, if you don't make any efforts. You will have those health issues, where degenerative health issues, and like dementia. So I think it's really, really good for your brain if you keep on learning new stuff. I think that's really, really important. So I think you're doing a great thing. I have found a couple of free sites where you can learn a language, but I have no idea if they do Chinese. But I can take a look and give you just the link, and you can check it for yourself.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try to remember and do it after the lesson.
Sounds good. Sounds great. And I've been trying to learn a little bit of music past few weeks. Playing the piano.
Oh, the piano, like me. Do you have a piano, or did you buy a piano? What did you how do you manage?
No, actually I practiced on this mobile app where it has like a virtual keyboard, and then there's like exercises there where I have to listen to notes, and then there's like songs I can play on my mobile screen.
If you're serious about it, I would at least recommend you to buy a real keyboard.
A synthesizer.
A real keyboard. You don't have to buy a real piano. Also, it's better, but at least start with a real keyboard. And there's an app you can use, which isn't very expensive, and you can even find it for free. And that app is really good with the sound. So, and you just have to connect it to a PC, and then you will have the sound in your headset. But you have to wire your headset to the PC. If you go with Bluetooth, without a wire, if you go with Bluetooth and there's no wire, then there will be a lag, and the lag is too bad. But if you take a headset with a wire, then it works. But just if you're serious about, you should think about doing that. I use that. I have a normal piano, but I use my electric one with the headset all the time, because my neighbors are really, really painful. If I start playing and they hear a couple of notes, they come running at my door and knocking and asking me when it's over, etc. So since they are so painful, and unfortunately where I live, the walls are really small. Now, in other places, for example, I saw my teacher yesterday, and we played at 8:30 at night on a big piano like the one behind me on the picture. Yeah. And it was great. They never complain. They don't hear the walls are really, really thick and very good isolation. So he can play all day long, and even during the entire night, it won't be an issue. But where I live, it's a huge issue. So that's really unfortunate for me. But the thing I'm just telling you that if you're interested, you have to buy a keyboard. There are good keyboards that aren't really expensive. The one I have did cost me $800, and that was like a decade ago. So I think it might be even cheaper now. So for $800, then you get a free version of the app, or you buy the app. You can find a free version. But you can also buy it, and then a headset. So it wouldn't be really, really expensive, but it would be a good starting point. And then you need to take lessons. And that's the hard thing, because maybe you can manage to Skype, to video lessons like we have now. Maybe you can manage, actually. If you can get a mic and a camera to your computer, a camera on your keyboard, and a mic like the mic you have now close to your piano, well, no, because it's not an acoustic piano. So I don't know how you will manage, because can you just share the virtual piano? Yes, but in that case, they won't see your hands, and it's important to see your hands on the piano. So I don't know how you can manage with virtual lessons. There are people who do it. I don't know how to do it, but there are people who do it. And if not, in your region, there might be a pianist you can see. Well, it's a lot. It's a lot to do. It's not an easy thing to learn the piano, unfortunately.
Well, I'm just, very beginner at it. I just wanna learn like basic how to read notes and know when we're like C's on a keyboard or F or all things like that. So I'm just starting out with this, so I'm not taking it super serious. And same with Chinese, by the way. I'm just doing it like 15, 30 minutes a day, right? So it's really not like sometimes I have some hobbies which I take more serious than others. These are just for my sanity and dementia prevention, like you said. But
Yeah, it
but
sounds
I
good.
will, yeah, if I get more serious, then for sure with it. So thankfully, also I have some people I know who are well, one is an opera singer, for example, in our national opera house, who's my uncle's wife, for example. So um, I have some close people to me who are very, very musical and are in bands and concerts and so on. So I have a question. I remember there was once this Mozart piece you struggled
Yeah,
learning.
I could actually already put it online because I have a version that can be publicized. But I haven't done it right now because I'm actually still playing it. The thing is, I have a new piece that I'm working on right now. I think it's a Russian composer. I'll give you the name next time. I don't have the name in my head. And
Tchaikovsky.
no, not Tchaikovsky, not him. Him I wouldn't forget. It's called, well, I have the French version, and it's called Une valse mélancolique. And I start playing that. So I've deciphered the first page, and next week, in 2 weeks, I will start the second page. And then he will give me one, and then I will choose one more new piece. And once I do that, I stop playing the older ones, and then I will put it online. So it will come. It will come. Don't forget. I'm just a little slow, but I mean, I could already put it online. But I will send you the link as soon as it's online. Okay? I haven't forgotten. And it's very nice that you remember and ask me about it.
That's good. So funny how life works, that sometimes something so incredibly difficult, at some point you just get it and it becomes like not a big deal, right? Usually it is like this. It's super, super difficult. And then next moment it's like an afterthought. But I want to share this one thing I've learned with learning a bit of music recently is I started noticing like every song has this resolution at the end, right? So the finishing notes have to be in a particular way, which kind of feels like wrapping a gift, right? It has to, I don't know what to compare it, but like a song can't finish like open-ended. There has to be a beginning and then culmination, and then it has to have this final note, right? And for me, it's somehow super inspiring or interesting that I've noticed when I'm also speaking or when I'm having lessons or in many things like that, I feel like I think more musical and I want like to finish my thought or finish a lesson or something just like a song would finish, that it has to have this proper resolution about it.
Yeah, it makes sense what you say. But composition is something very few people actually study. I knew a lot of, I know still a lot of pianists because I always take lessons, and I had a girlfriend who studied the piano and did get a degree in it, and now is working as a professional pianist. So I know a lot about the world, but I've never did meet somebody who is into composition, but they know a lot about theory about music. But I know nobody who really is into composition, and that's something you can study. But I never met somebody who does that. But what you say makes sense. Now I could talk about how I, as a pianist, finish a piece, but that's only one part of that's like technique. But the composer, of course, he really did end the piece in a special way so that it makes sense that the piece ends on that note and not anywhere else before that. So he's capable of doing that. And when you say that you want that there's some structure in your lessons and that you end in a certain manner, that also makes a lot of sense. So yes, I think you're on the right track, and it's interesting studying those things. But composition is something very few people study nowadays. That's at least the impression I get, because I never have met anybody who does. But it's interesting. Of course, I think it's really, really interesting. It's something that would interest me too, to study more of it.
To me, it's just like there's like a new little piano song I'm practicing, and then okay, there's this melody, right? And maybe it's an interesting melody that the composer came up with, but then the resolution there at the end, it sometimes is like, how could he ever think of it? Like, how could he? Because sometimes it's like, I don't know the musical terms for it, but sometimes it's like a bit different notes how a song finishes on, right?
Yeah, you're correct.
Right?
Yeah, you're correct. Well, but there is theory. They don't make it all up. So they have their way of analyzing a sheet of notes and composing notes. So there are rules for that. And when you get really good at it, you get a feeling for it. It's like me with with one of my ex pianists. Her name was Xenia, and she did get a position in a conservatorium close to where I live in Morges. And she still gave me lessons there as long as she could. And then one day, the direction told her that she cannot give a lesson to anybody who is not a student of the conservatorium. And I was a private student, not a student of the conservatorium. So she could not give me any lessons anymore. But the thing is, once she told me to do something, but I didn't want to stop in the middle of what I was doing. So I went until the end of La Mesure. There are those lines. There are a couple of notes, and then there is a line on the piano sheet. And I went at the end of one or two of those lines. I still continued playing because I wanted to end the piece from a musical standpoint. And then she got mad at me because she told me to end, and I didn't end straight away and did what she asked me to. I would do it, but I just wanted to go to the end and what I was playing, because stopping in the middle abruptly, it was strange to me. So I kept on going. And she took the notes away, and I didn't know by heart the piece, but I was stubborn and I kept playing, and what I played did make a lot of sense. And she was impressed. She said, very well, but it's still not what I'm asking you to do. She was just impressed because I was not doing what she did, but I was capable of playing something that was not written on the sheet of paper, and that gave a lot of sense that was correct melodically, and I did it spontaneously. Okay, so and that feeling that I had in a couple of seconds there, spontaneously to keep on playing. That's the same thing like Mozart, Chopin, Beethoven, and all Tchaikovsky and all the great composers. They have a feeling for music, and they just know what sounds good and what is nice, and they just put it on the paper and then they write it down. But it's something that comes to them spontaneously. You know, they get a sense for it.
Yes, it's super incredible. You know, is it the same word in French or English? This solfeggio.
Solfège, yes, it's the same word.
Solfege, right?
Yes.
Isn't it interesting that everyone I know who's ever gone to musical school, even in 3rd grade, or who I know now as a grown-up, I don't know one person who's told me that they like this musical subject.
They don't like it? Or they
To me,
like
it's
it?
so funny that almost everyone in music I know doesn't like it, thinks it's a hard lesson to have, is this solfege.
Well, the thing is, there is stuff you just don't know for what you will ever use it. You learn something, but you don't know for what you ever use it. And that's not nice. And then there's also, you have to be fast in learning to read notes. But, you know, I don't say the notes the same way you do. I say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. You know, I don't say C, F, and the other stuff. I don't use that. I don't talk about notes in that way. I say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. So it's a little different. But it just, you have to exercise yourself a lot. And if you don't do it, then it's a little hard. And I take, there's an app, you like to learn about music. That's a good app if you want to be able to read notes fast. But it won't be C, F, D or whatever it is in English. Pianists, they know both of them, but I don't. Some pianists know both of them, but I don't. But there's an app, it's called on the Play Store. It's called Not de Musique, I think. Let me just check. I'll try to show you.
All right.
Yeah, it's called Not the Music. Do you know how to write note?
No, yes.
T-E-S, N-O-T-E-S, de, D-E, and music. M-U-U, so M-U-S-I-Q-U-E. So I don't know if you can see it. I can send you
It's written like in a French way, right? I know how to write music in French. I know that.
Okay, but I can, anyways, I can send you the link. But it looks something like. Okay, no luck.
Yeah, it means musical note, right?
It won't show. But you have to go on. Just remember this. You can install it, and it will help you to read musical notes. And it says music notes actually in English now. And then it says.
I think I found it.
Yeah, but but when you go, you have to click the first thing. Always the first thing, I think. So it says reading notes. You do that, and then you make training, and then you select how many octaves you use. Normally you put 3 octaves, and then you put the key from G to F4, and then you make play. Okay, and then you have to find the notes on the piece of paper, and that's an exercise I do every day for like 20 minutes. I do 600 notes every day just to be able to read notes fast. So
yeah, you know, that's a good recommendation. So but we should move to poker section soon because I have another lesson starting in an hour.
I know you do.
But I have one last question. You asked me about what's my goal or reason to learn like this Chinese, and I didn't have a good reason, right? I just wanted to try out if I can do it, basically. What's the goal for you? Why are you so passionately learning music? What do you feel like it gives to your life to do it every day, to do these things?
Well, it's actually good for you, for your soul, I think. It teaches you something about harmony. And I know that today I haven't slept much, so I woke up quite late and just for our lesson. But if I can, I really like to start my morning by playing the piano for 45 minutes or 1 hour or a little more. And then it just gives me some harmony. It's like, you know, I want to compare to a samurai, a Japanese samurai, and they did calligraphy. So they were writing, you know, the Japanese symbols on a piece of paper. Or they were very special about the tea ceremony. So when they poured tea and drank tea, they did it in a very ritual manner. But calligraphy, I think, was the main thing they did. So they were composing poems or writing stuff and trying to get a really nice style in forming the words and the letters. I think they are words, the calligraphy. But you know more about Chinese and Japanese calligraphy than I do. But since you study that. But the thing is just, it's an exercise and it helps. I think it's really good. Now I feel better after doing that when it goes well than if I don't. So I think it's just a nice thing to do, and it's a form of it's not a meditation, but it's something where you still work on your soul, I think, up to a certain extent. So I enjoy it and I like music, but I like much more the music I play than the music I listen to. So it's just my way of doing something I love. Everybody loves music. I think a lot of people love music. And when you play it, it's even nicer. You appreciate it much more than when you just listen to it. So it's a really great thing to do. I would recommend everybody to study an instrument, a classical instrument like the piano or the violin. But the violin it's a little dangerous for your hearing because the instrument is too close to your ear and you get deaf from it. But the piano is great. It's really, really a great instrument. But unfortunately, it takes a lot of space because the piano is quite big. But apart from that, nowadays, since you have the electric ones, I think it's something that everybody should do. But you should start soon. So if I have kids, they get lessons as soon as they can. If possible, at 3 years. If I can teach them something on the piano at 2 years, I would. So I think it's just a great thing to do. It makes you more complete if you have something like that. You know, you don't have to know a lot about geography, history, all that stuff. It won't change anything. But playing the piano changes a lot for you. It gives a lot. It adds a lot to your life, in my opinion. And
yeah, I think I can start to see that now. Yes, to me it feels like it makes everything kind of, like you said, more harmonious, right, or peaceful. It's like things are nice somehow to hear those beautiful melodies, and it's incredible how much depth there is in just like a succession of a few sounds and notes, like how deeply it can touch in a way.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful art form because I think it talks directly to your soul because every other art form needs is material. You buy a painting, but a piano piece you only listen to it and then it's gone. So it only resonates with you on a very the French word is intime, on a very personal note. It resonates with you. So I think that's a great thing. It's really, really a beautiful art form. So it's something worth pursuing. But unfortunately, you are not 5 years old, so now it's a little more difficult.
You know what I also noticed? That somehow once you learn a piece of piano, then that piano piece becomes like your own in a way. Like it starts to make a sense. It feels like learning a new word or learning something. Do you know what I mean through it? That the song becomes different once you know how to play it.
Yeah. And what is for certain is that when you hear it the first time, you have a very superficial understanding of the piece. But when you practice it and play it, you understand it on a much deeper level.
Yes, it's like at first time as I don't have like absolute hearing of notes and all that, it feels like at first time I didn't even hear the song, like you said, very superficially. And then once you practice it some time, then you're kind of in tune with the song, it feels like. Maybe it feels like I start in a way to be like the song within me, like I'm playing the song, but at the same time the song and the notes are playing me. Sometimes it can feel like that.
Yeah, great. So now let's look at a couple of hands.
Yes, finally. But it was nice to talk to you about this.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Okay, I have one last quick question, very short. Do you only play the songs you want to play?
They gave me also a couple of exercises to do. But right now I only play the songs I want to play here. And my new teacher isn't that great in finding songs, because the songs he recommends are songs that I've heard a lot already. And I like more more something more obscure, something that isn't that well known. I just don't like playing the songs that everybody did play 1,000 times, But so right now I actually find my songs myself that I want to play.
Okay, thank you. Makes sense.
Right now, but normally they propose to me. It's just that my new teacher is still a little young, and I think it's harder for him to select great pieces, so I do it right now. But in the past, it was always my teachers who recommended the songs. But they gave me a selection, so they proposed 2, 3, 4 songs until I said, "Yeah, I like that one. Let me play that one." And normally I play two different pieces at the same time.
Okay, so to have some rest from one piece, right? That's why.
Yeah, just to change something so that you don't always play exactly the same, so that you have some variety in what you're doing.
Okay, I'll try to remember these tips. Thank you. I agree.
Thank you.
To me, you raised too large. So I see the influence of a new coach here, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
You can do this. I mean, to me, it's just it's in a tournament. Everything has to be. If we think musically, it has to be a bit more mellow. It has to be a bit more, how to say, a bit more. I'm lacking the words in English, but the general themes of tournaments are there. Everything is more cautious, careful, slow. It's more deliberate is the word I'm looking for in a tournament. So in cash games, there's more like big actions, big movements like this. If I knew more in music, I could say like this musical piece when it's like Tchaikovsky or something like that, right? When their cannons are going and something like this. But the tournament, I feel like it's more of this, upper class. They're in a palace. Everyone's so nice to each other, but then someone gets poisoned and then someone's ill, and everyone's so friendly and nice all the time. Like tournaments are a bit more not so in the face, right? It's I feel like tournaments are a bit more aristocratic in a way that you're not just gonna bet so strongly in the face of another. It's a more cautious way of going than in cash games, how I see it. So, but let's see how this hand develops. All right, so very ugly board. You went for your one try to get him off of it, and the benefit of it is because you bet the flop, he will check to you on the turn, which means that you will get the river. So obviously we wanted to fold on the flop, but the good thing is because you're in position, now you get to see both turn and river for your bet. If you were out of position, probably if you check on the turn, he bets. But now you see the river as well. So, okay. Let's hope he doesn't bet here. He does, and I hope you folded. Good. All right. I like it. Yeah, it's tough, right? It feels like with our hand, we could call one big blind. Two big blinds feels a bit rough here against the big stack. So I'm fine with you folding this. I think it's good. But it feels close, this one, so okay, I like it. Okay, if you give me a pause here, then I want to calculate for you the the value of each stack here. So just you're aware of this. So even though the one player has 60, how to convert it into, well, I'd like to show you this, I think is, so we talked about it last time, but player 3 has more than half the chips in play, a little bit more than half, just very close to half. But the maximum reward he can get from the prize pool, if he gets first place, is also half the chips. So actually his stack is valued less than it is in big blinds. So he can be very active, this player 3, and play a lot of pots, and 1 or 2 or even 10 big blinds to him shouldn't make big of a difference. Now for your stack at the moment, even though it's very close to player 7 in this third, fourth place, at this point, both of your stacks are very valuable. So your stack's value here is, even though you have 9% of all the chips, your stack is worth as if you had 15% of the chips. So your stack is more than 50% more valuable than just the chip amount here. Because all you need to do is outlast player 7 and you get 20% of the prizes. So actually I think my bigger point here is you're in a good spot in a tournament. Even though this tournament, it feels like you've folded every hand almost and won just one pot, you're actually in a very good spot the way this tournament has gone. That almost by doing nothing, you're at the doorstep of guaranteeing some prizes and possibly then even higher prizes if it goes well for you. So, but at this stage, it's important to be very cautious with the chips you have here and wait a lot, right? Hopefully the other players make a big blunder. And you could already, one thing that I would notice here is, how is player 7 still raising? How does he still dare to raise? Right? We're at the bubble. Player 3 has so many chips. And player 7 still thinks he can raise hands on the button. So that's a sign to me that maybe you don't have to do something. Player 7 will just be very active and go out next himself. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so I think this is another good example to go into theory a little bit and see what's the weakest hands that this ICM calculator recommends you shove in the cutoff, and what your ranges recommend you to shove, and to see what's the difference between the two. Because in this case, there's this bubble pressure, so to see what it changes in the strategy. So for that, let's go to the beginning of the hand and see the stack sizes for all the players here. So one moment. One moment as I mark them in a calculator. All right, so let's see how different your shoving range in this position is from what it's recommended in the ICM or independent chip model strategy. So I'll copy you here what it's recommending you to go all in with in the chat, and have a look how much different your actual range would be with what you would go all in. Would you do something differently? So this is like the notation of poker, right? How it's written down. So would you have gone all in with hands such as any ace at this point, king 7 suited, king 10 offsuit, queen 9 suited, 10 9 suited? Would you have gone in similar to that, tighter or looser?
I would have been a little tighter on the aces. I would not play ace 3 offsuit and ace 2 offsuit.
Okay, I think it's...
the pairs 2-2 and plus, so 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, those I would play, yeah. Ace X, what's ace X? What's this?
Ace X means any ace. The X means that the other card can be any card.
Okay. And king 7 suited, king 7 suited and plus, so king 7, king 8, king 9 suited, yes, that I would play. No difference. King 10 offsuit, king 10 offsuit and plus, yes, so king 10 offsuit, king jack offsuit, king queen offsuit, yeah, all those I would play. It's the same. King 9 suited,
Queen 9.
Queen 9 suited and plus, yeah, so queen 9 suited, queen 10 suited, queen jack suited, yes, all those I would play. It's the same. And queen 10 offsuit, queen 10 offsuit and plus, queen 10 offsuit, queen jack offsuit, etc. Yes, that I would also play. Jack 9 suited, jack 9 suited and plus. So here's the difference. I would also play jack 8 suited 90% of the time. So here he's a little tighter than I am. And 10 9 suited, 10 9 suited. Here also I would play 10 8 suited. So here's also a little tighter. So it's a little tighter on 2 or 3 places, and with the aces he's a little more aggressive. So there's a small difference, but not much.
Yes. And I think the difference is due to the fact that if you go all in, most likely your opponent should call you if they have an ace. So even though in a way Jack 8 suited has more life when you get all in, because Jack 8 suited has a good chance to beat even ace 5 or ace 7, it's recommending really to have an ace so you don't have to get all in. But now I want to look at next step is, if you go all in here, in theory, what should button call with? And this is, you have to think for yourself here. So these are the hands that button should call with in theory. I pasted in the chat. And what is strange about it, if anything?
So 7-7 plus 7-7-8-8. So that makes sense, but it's tighter. It's quite tight. 8 ace 9 suited and plus. So this again makes sense, but it's tight because ace 8 suited would also be a good hand. And ace 10 off. Ace 10 off. It's also tight. So there are very few hands he should actually go all in. A very tight range he gets.
Exactly.
Even though he has a lot of money he could waste. But he still has to be, they still tell him to be very cautious.
Exactly. Do you have an inclination as to why? There is some harmony here in poker as well, so there's a reason for it.
Well, I think he wants to preserve his stack and not waste it stupidly. That's what I would say. He wants to not take risk when not necessary. But that's a very, very tight range you put on the board for button. He should only play 8.7% of his range. I have to play 28.5% of my range. So he has a very, very tight range.
Even if he had pocket sixes, pocket fives, he should fold. Now in practice, do you think they would do that?
Well, I think if he's Daniel Negreanu, yes, there's a good chance he would. But if not, no, he would not.
Right. I also think someone with ace-8 offsuit and many hands could call your all-in. But I wanna explain a little bit why. So, if it was just you and player 6, he could call way more hands than this. His range could be way more similar to your 28%. But the big concern for him is, if he calls 7 big blinds, what if player 7 goes all in? Or what if player 3 re-raises or calls? Right? So in that case, it's the worry here isn't so much about you, even though it's a part of it, right? So what I mean by part of it is, if he calls your all in, should it make sense for him to call your all in if his hand is weaker than yours on average?
But you talk about player about
6 here. I was talking of the dealer button, not the big blind here.
Okay, how come you talk about the dealer button more than the big blind? Because the dealer button folds, and it's just the big blind who is in the game. Why do you do that? Why do you focus on the button? Just makes not much sense to me since he folded. We talk now all that talk about the button, but he folded.
Right, he did. But when I'm going all in, I don't know that he will fold.
Okay.
So at that moment, I want to be mentally prepared for what he will do. And then from another perspective, at some day, you will be the dealer button here, and the cutoff goes all in for 7 big blinds. And you might be asked, what are you going to do with your pocket sixes or ace-9 offsuit, right?
Yeah, I understand. But Norman, I feel bad because for me, you have a lesson that started 2 minutes ago. And I don't want you to miss your lesson. So do we have to stop here abruptly?
You're mistaken. So, the thing I do is I very strongly believe that if you're not early, then you're already late, right? So the thing I do is I always try in my schedule to have a 30-minute time between every lesson.
Okay.
So,
Okay, great.
so my
So
next
maybe you.
lesson actually starts in 27 minutes.
Okay, great, great, great. So in that case, we might can go a little longer and maybe even finish that tournament. But I really find interest your new tool you're showing me. It's a very good tool. Thanks a lot for integrating it into your lessons. I really like it.
Great. Now, you were interested of the big blind. Let's see what the big blind should do. So first, let's see what the big blind should do if the button calls. So if button calls, then what should happen to the big blind?
A very tight range, 4.2.
Extremely tight, right? Because then two players would be all in. So at that
But
point,
he still should go all in with pocket nines. I would actually be even tighter if I was the button and I have two players who go all in. I would be even tighter than that. And the thing is, I don't represent much harm since I only have 6.75 big blinds left. But the button, if he makes an all in, he has 27 big blinds left. So I think he can do quite a lot of harm to the big blind. So I think 4.2 looks very tight, but I would be even tighter than that against two players who go all in.
okay.
I would be even tighter than that.
So my explanation for it is, if it goes well, then the big blind knocks out two players and is very big chip leader and would almost guarantee first place for him. So that's the reward for the big blind. If it doesn't go well, and let's say player 6 somehow has pocket tens and then big blind has nines and loses it, he would still have more than 30 big blinds left, which means he would be comfortably in second place. Now, if you think of a difference in this between first and second place, first place gets 50% of the prize, second place gets 30% of a prize. So it's not such a significant difference to come second than to come first. It's like in a royal palace, whether you're the crown prince or just the normal prince. Yes, it's obviously a different thing to be a crown prince, but everybody lives well in a royal palace, even if you're the seventh prince or a cousin or whoever there. So in tournaments, the payouts are still quite evenly distributed, which means that the risk here for big blind player 3 is he might lose his first place if he loses this gamble, but it's very tough for him to lose second place. So it's not like a loss for him would mean that he won't get prizes. He's still very likely to come at least second. And he could still win it, right? He would still have 30 big blinds and a lot of life in his stack. So, overall, I see your point that 9 seems a bit loose. I think maybe another better way to explain it is, if you look at what you're going all in the cutoff, what is there more of that for you to have, a pocket pair or an unpaired hand?
An unpaired hand.
An unpaired hand. So there's, to begin with, you get dealt pocket pair about 6% of the time. So even when going all in, yes, you're going all in.
Actually, I made a mistake. Norman.
Okay.
I looked at the 40 big blind chart and I only have 6.75 big blinds. So I should have looked at the 6 big blind charts. And in that case, I would have had a much wider range. So actually, your tool is much tighter than my range, much, much tighter. Because if I switch to the 6 big blinds, I play nearly everything on the, not everything, but a lot.
Perfect. So this makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
So the reason for it is, at this point, if you have 6 big blinds, or if you double it up and have 12 big blinds, none of it really matters. That's the point. Because your stack is basically worth 12 big blinds anyway. So in tournaments, it's all about just surviving. Even if you have one chip left, if you're still in it, that's the main thing. Right? So imagine now you fold and player 6, 7, and 3 go all in, and player 3 wins. Suddenly you would get 20% of the 30% of the prizes. Right? You would get 30% of prizes for nothing, for doing no work at all there.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, look, on this board we have the big blind. And the big blind is a very loose player and he goes in with all kinds of crappy hand. He's marked for me big fish. As big fish. And he will play every hand. In this tournament he played close to every hand and he made a lot of all-ins. And the other two players facing such an aggressive player are quite tight. So they don't take too much risk. So I'm not sure that they will do an all-in if I bleed to death from here on. Maybe, and even though then I only make it to place 3. So I still should try to do something. And I think it's the right decision to go all in here.
Well, if you look at what I sent you, what does it told there about offsuit queens?
Queen 10 and plus.
So is queen jack off in there?
Yes.
It is, exactly. So you didn't make a mistake, but it would be a mistake to be much wider than this and go with the range that you're looking, because the range that you're looking is taking chips for chip value. So basically the range that you're looking is thinking, well, if everyone folds here and I win 8.85 this pot, then I win 2 extra chips. The key thing to realize in tournaments is chips are worthless, right? Chips are you don't get a prize based on your chips. You get a prize based on your placing in the tournament. So I agree with you. It's player 6 and player 7. If they're tight, they're not going to be too reckless. But you have some time here. You don't, even if you have 7 big blinds, it doesn't mean you have to go all in with everything. You have some time. You can see the next 10 hands, and you can wait for a spot where you have an ace or a pair. Or a good hand like queen jack.
Yeah, I agree.
So lastly here I want to show what should big blind call if everyone else folds. So if small blind button fold, then big blind should call actually a wider range than you're going all in with. Can you explain how?
Yeah, but the difference is not much. It's
Yes, it's
29.
similar. But
So,
but but you know, usually in all-ins, I would explain like this. If your hand's weaker than the average hand the other player has, you shouldn't gamble with them because you're at the bottom of their worst hands. Now here for big blinds, he's calling queen 10 off. Should call if you go all in with queen 10 off. But queen 10 off is your weakest all in. So how would you make sense of that? Why should he call with the hands that's like the weakest hand you go all in with?
well, because I don't represent much danger, I only have 6.75 left. And if he kicks me out, then he's only facing two more opponents. It would help him a little, and he would only face two more opponents. So he doesn't risk much, because if we take away 6.75 big blinds from his stack, he's still way ahead of everybody. So it's just a way of eliminating an opponent and not risking too much if something goes wrong. It's like
But why should he
it's
risk
like
it?
it's like if I have war and I can send a squad, an elite troop, to do something very peril. I mean, I might lose that elite troop, but well, if the elite troop represents a lot to me, then I won't. But if the maybe not an elite troop, but I can send some troops. I have a lot of troops. I can send some troops. Maybe they win a battle, they take a castle, okay? And if not, they all die. But if they all die, it doesn't matter because I still have a lot of troops. So sometimes it's worth doing the gamble because the reward would be quite high. In this case, eliminating an opponent. And if I lose, well, it doesn't matter, you know? I didn't lose a lot. Does that make any sense, or am I talking way off?
No, you're not way off. It's actually pretty close to what I was thinking. I like this metaphor of troops and so on. But I would say that, so you're right. It's more like, it's not like elite troops. If he has queen 10 off, in theory, he should call you. And most likely, his hand is weaker than yours if he has queen 10 off. So it's more like he has some battalion of troops who are mostly going up against the stronger opposition against your all-in. So why should they go into that battle? And the key detail here is that the rewards, if his troops win, are greater than the losses. So that's big one as well. That he's only risking 5.7 to win 8.8. Right? That's the key detail here. If it was 5.7 for 5.7, then what's the point? If the maximum win would be the same that maximum loss. But the key benefit here for big blind is he also wins the antes, he also wins the small blind, he also preserves the big blind he puts on the table. So there's additional benefits. One which you said that he eliminates one opponent. That's a benefit. But an additional benefit is also the fact that there's that let's say it like this, that his opponent's equipment or the reward or the all of that is more valuable than what he's risking. It's like he's sending a troops of farmers, and if it goes well, they come back with tools and weaponry there.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So we can move on from this for now. And he called you with king 2 off, which he shouldn't have. Right? So he called you even looser than he should. He sent real farmers against your all-in. He sent like sick people, old people. He sent like the basically from the weakest of his society. He sent those to battle. And that's a bit reckless, like you said, that you have him as big fish.
Yeah, but look, it's not that he sent sick people, because if you old and sick people, they die anyway. They are worthless. So why not send them?
Maybe they
But
can
the
do
thing,
something.
but
Maybe
the
they
thing,
can do
but the thing
something.
is, his sick people cost him a lot of money. It's not that he sent sick people. He tried to say he spent a lot of money on saving them, but he could not, and lost all his money. I don't know.
Okay,
It just makes no sense.
Okay, then I have another metaphor maybe. Then he sent teenagers who had more potential. He
Yeah,
sent the
exactly.
hand that,
Exactly.
right?
He sent teenager. That's a better metaphor, because those teenager, they could be better in the future. So yes, he sent people that were incapable of actually standing the battleground. He sent people on the field that couldn't stand the battleground, like teenagers who weren't ready for fighting. You're right. That's better. That's a better metaphor.
All
I like
right,
that one.
good.
I like that one.
Okay. So you see here, player 7, this hand, right? The past hand. They are, even if you don't play, they are trying. Like this hand, player 7 risks half his stack. The
Yeah.
previous hand, player 6 tried to limp in. So you see, there is clearly value here for you to be just hold tight and wait a bit and wait for your opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. But that's what I'm doing. Look, I'm
Yes,
down. I'm down at
you are.
4 now. 4 big blinds.
That's fine. That's fine. 4 is enough. 4 can be plenty. Okay, this is an interesting one, right? And I think the big question here is, should you just see the flop or should you go all in? So to me, this is an interesting topic. What are your thoughts on it?
I should go all in, because I don't want to negotiate the flop. I'm lazy. And the thing is that player 3, he's very loose. He's big fish. He will either he will bluff me, or he will, with bottom pair, he will make an all in. So the chance that player 3 doesn't do an all in is very low. Even if he has nothing, yeah, I still think he would do an all in. So it makes no difference, because he's too loose. He's too loose. He will try to bluff me, or he will go all in anyways, because he has something which is very bad. But in both cases he will do his all in. So it makes no difference to me.
Yes, I want to show you something in theory in this spot. So actually, in theory, the small blind should have gone all in with any 2 cards, because you have just 3.5 left, and the big blind and the antes, that he has such a big stack, he should have at this point just gone with it. You have enough, you have like a random hand, so his random hand can gamble against your random hand for 3 big blinds here. And if you see what you should call against that all in theory, again, in theory, that's important to remember about this, that practice is sometimes different. In theory, you should call his all in, even with queen 2 offsuit. For just 3.5 big blinds here.
Yeah, that's astonishing.
Even 9-6 offsuit here. Even 10-4 offsuit. 71% of range.
Yeah. That's really wide. A really wide range.
It is. But it's if you expect the other player to literally go all in with any 2 cards, then it makes sense to also defend very wide for the blinds and antes.
Yeah.
But in real life, they might not go all in with any 2 cards, right? So that's the thing you have to be more cautious about. Okay, let's hope he folds here, actually. I want him to fold. I don't think it's likely, but I would like that. He didn't, right? He had 4-9 off. So, well, looks good so far for you. Let's see the last 3 hands. Wow. Okay, and here you don't want him to fold, right? So you even raise him pre-flop before going all in. And now you bet like this, okay.
Yeah, I really didn't want him to fold. So I wanted to make it small. I could have even limped, but if I limped, then I have 2 per opponent. So I went for 2.5.
You know, with aces I allow it. With aces I allow it. Great, that's great. But how did? Oh, and then you get dealt 6. Actually, this is super interesting. If we look at stack sizes, there's now a clear 4th place player, right? So I think this is actually super interesting to finish on this. So what's your guess? Was 6 is the right play here?
What's my guess? So how much I should play? Is that what you ask me? How much hands I should play?
So considering the tournament situation, right? Considering that small blind only has 5 big blinds, what's your guess? Does the theory recommend you going all in here or not?
Yeah, I guess yes. I say yes. You should go all in.
You're right. Now, in theory, it recommends you to go all in with quite any pair, any suited ace, ace-8 off and better. Also this ace-5 off, ace-4 off, ace-3 off, king-5 suited, queen-10 off. So yes, in theory, it does recommend you to go all in with a lot of hands.
Why so many? Why even king 5 suited? I wouldn't play king 5 suited. I wouldn't play king 6 suited. I wouldn't play ace 3 offsuit. I wouldn't play ace 2 offsuit. So why is he even more aggressive than I would be?
You know, this is perfect because this is like a musical piece. This is the resolution to our lesson today.
Great.
Right? So this is the final cherry on top. Why?
Great.
Because in theory, if you go all in, look at what the dealer button should call it. Look at what the small blind should call if the dealer button folds. Even small blind with his 5 big blinds. And finally, look at what big blind should call. Big blind should just fold ace-10 off. Big blind should just fold 7s.
Yeah. So, okay. So I think that there's a chance that the button and the small blind do what they're supposed to do. But I think there's no chance whatsoever that my big fish will play according to that 7.1%. So since I knew that my big blind would never do that, and since I knew that my chance of him going all in is very high, but should I still have done my all in? That's my question. And the thing is, I think yes, because the big blind, I think he's capable of even going all in with 7-2 offsuit. Maybe not 7-2, but with any crappy hand like Jack 5 offsuit or Jack 6 offsuit, I see him doing an all in because he's just a very bad player. So, and he played nearly every hand, and he made like I have the impression he made 30 all ins, maybe not 30. But if not 30, he made maybe 10 all-ins. So against him, should I have done it or not?
Monsieur, I have a final point here.
Yeah.
So first of all, in theory, it's because of this, because even big blind should now be afraid of your all-in, because 15 big blinds out of his stack is a big chunk. It's 70% of his stack.
Yeah, but not if he's so bad. If he's a normal player, yes. But if he's so bad, he's not thinking at that level. That's the issue.
I know. That's why I'm bringing the point to the fact that this is theory. Practice is different. So in practice, you should be way more cautious if he doesn't respect your all-ins. If he's not scared of your all-ins, if he's reckless, right? If he doesn't care, if he's just there to gamble, then you can't pressure him. I'm just explaining, in theory, it's so wide because in theory, they don't gamble with you. But in practice they do, you want to be tighter than in theory. And now is my final point of your
But if I'm tighter than in theory, maybe I don't play 2-2, maybe I don't play 3-3, maybe I don't play 4-4, but 5-5, 6-6, I think I should still play.
I'm not convinced. This is why. If you win this all-in, you will have 30 big blinds, which means there's in total 37, 40. You would have about half the chips in play, which means you would be very likely to get second or first place. If you get second, you get 30% of the prize. If you get first, you get 50% of the prize. But even if you don't go all in, you're still very likely to get those prizes like second place, third place, first place prize. But if you do go all in and you lose, suddenly you get 0 prize. With your stack, 20% of prize, I would say third place at this moment. Even if you walk away from a keyboard, would you get third place in this tournament at least? I think it's guaranteed here. So 20% of the prize is guaranteed. For second place, you only get 10% more. And if you get second, which is 30%, first place is just 20% more. So the big point I have here is, you know big blind is reckless. You know big blind will gamble. And maybe he will even call you with ace 5 or ace 7 or something. My point is, let's not gamble with him. We don't have to. Let's take the guaranteed 20% of the prize, 30% of the prize, and let's gamble with him when we have aces or when it's just you and him left. At this point, even though theory says it, I actually think you can even fold sixes here. Because the 30 big blinds, I think player 7 is 3 times less chips than you. You're also ahead of player 6. I don't think it's necessary here. And if they don't respect it, if they call too many all-ins, then why do it?
Okay. Now we really have to stop because you're 2 minutes
Yes.
late for your next lesson. Norman, it was a great lesson. Really, really interesting. I will think a lot about what you just said. Until next time. And I'll see you next week. Take care. And
Have a
thanks a
great
lot.
week.
Thanks a lot. You're a great guy. Thanks a lot. Bye bye, Norman.
You too. See you.